Attorney Stewart Vance from the Vance Law Firm here ready to answer your legal questions on air. As always, we remind people that you are a personal injury attorney. What does that mean? What sort of cases do you handle?
Great question as always. We handle cases where people have been injured by no fault of their own, and that is a wide spectrum from a fender bender to a somebody hit and run your vehicle, a horrific crash, multiple car pileup. It could be an on-the-job injury. It could be premises liability where you tripped and fell, slipped and fell over something that you should have, might not have known about. Anytime, I would just tell people, anytime there's an injury, minor or severe, it's worth a phone call to find out what options you may have.
Sometimes people think of criminal cases, and for whatever reason or whatever's going on, why would you recommend someone also call a personal injury attorney, even if they're still dealing with the criminal aspect?
Yeah, sometimes, clearly, and we've gotten this call before where someone got stabbed or mugged or shot or something. Is there any recourse? It's worth a phone call because it could be, and we've had cases over the years that where you were and that happened, someone should have been providing security. Somebody should have, been checking for weapons or whatever it might be. And so it's worth a phone call. I guess the downside, if there's somebody that's not there, shouldn't have been there, and there's no way to prevent them from being there, and they do, and I'm thinking, probably as we all are, the shooting downtown, last week, 2 weeks ago, that Saturday when it was, it was so chaotic. Ultimately, they've captured, they've arrested the people that did that. There's likely no recourse, an individual that makes a bad decision and starts shooting in a crowd, they're not going to have a liability insurance policy that covers that. So it's always worth a call, but sometimes we have to give people, hey, the bad news from our perspective is this is what the law is, this is what your options may be, but sometimes that still helps.
One case you always mention to us that people recognize as the O.J. Simpson case, that was a criminal
That's right.
and a civil case that happened at the same time.
Yeah, before I've said it, and I'll say it again, happy to, that the two types of cases in our country, state to state across the United States, it's either civil or criminal. Criminal is what you just referenced, someone being the O.J. He got charged for the murder of 2 people. That's criminal, and the state makes all those decisions. The state, the county, the state, the city, the district attorneys decide who to prosecute, and that's law enforcement, and the government makes those decisions. They're certainly entitled to. Everybody's entitled to their day in court, and so they're entitled to get a lawyer, but that's a defense lawyer. We don't do that at our firm. There are some great defense attorneys around, but then everything else is civil. Anything that happens to somebody that you think a law's been broken or someone has done something against the law that's not criminal, it becomes civil. And the only remedy in our country is any court can only do can make someone pay money. Many cases over the years, people say, they never apologize. If they would just, tell me they're sorry or whatever it might be, the court can't make somebody do that. The only recourse for a court is if someone wins, they're awarded money. And it's called damages. How are they out? What are they damaged by? And it doesn't always mean physical. It can also be economic. Hey, this car wreck caused me some physical harm. It broke my arm, broke my leg, but it also kept me out of work, and I lost my income for 6 months or a year, whatever that might be. Those are economic damages that you are entitled to recover. So it kind of goes back to, you mentioned the O.J. thing there. That was kind of both, that once he had some criminal charges, but then the family of the victim sued him civilly to say they were out for the loss of their loved ones and he should pay them money. That is a viable claim that they could bring, and they may have been successful in that. I don't remember the outcome of that part. But if you can always sue somebody, but if they don't have anything, you really can't get anything. I tell people that all the time. Hey, if the at-fault party in a car wreck doesn't have the proper insurance, well, shame on them, but there's no money to go get if they don't have the right insurance. That's why you should always have the proper insurance on your vehicle, so that worst case, if they break the law by driving with no insurance, they cause you injury, you have your own policy you can go back to get some recovery. So they all kind of blend together, but it all goes back to my original statement, call and ask, because which insurance pays first, who's pays last, or who has to be paid back. All those are great questions that come up when people least expect it.
Go ahead and ask those questions and give us a call right now. That number's right there at the bottom of your screen. It's 420-9732. That number is 420-WSFA. We'll get to your phone calls right